So you guys remember this piece from earlier that we installed on the turbo? So we're going to go ahead and install it again. There's a certain sequence that you have to do in order to make sure that it goes on properly. So once again, we want it to be going down just like we installed before. So now that's set up, take our crescent wrench, we're going to finish tighten this. So that it's straight. So it's going to miss the compressor housing. It's also going to be as far away as possible from the turbine housing. So we finally got the pipe, the up pipe coming into the turbo from the two exhausts and the crossover pipe. We got that mounted. That is a pain. You've got the V clamps underneath the V bands that they don't really close over very well. With the turbo kits on this car, one of them has a quick release, so this piece isn't attached. So what happens is you can actually thread the bolt on the final side and you can squeeze the two together and lock it in place without having to thread anything, which is a huge help if you're under the car, especially if you don't have someone to help you, because you can put it in and you don't have to sit there and try and hold this really, really tight while aligning the pipe while threading this in. Our down pipe hooked up. Now our down pipe comes in from the bottom, comes up. So you gotta make sure you have enough clearance. I'm on ramps right now, maybe with like a 7 or 8 inch lift, really not that significant. And I was able to get it. So with the jack and axle stands or whatever, it should be pretty easy to get that one fed up through. My recommendation, detach the fuse box, take out the battery, take out all the crap that's on the battery, so you can have all the access in, you can have everything cleared, you can really pull it up pretty easily. Alright? Now this top one's a bit easier than the bottom one, except you have a heavy turbo in your hands. Oh, so much easier than the other one. Oh shit, where's that nut? How's that look? That looks pretty. Except looks like it's gonna hit right here. So that oil fitting right down there, that's another thing you want to take note of. It's hitting the V-band clamp where the V-band is going to be most convenient. So we're going to want to make sure to flip it around 180 degrees so that it's on the right side as opposed to the left side there. So more on the rear side of the car rather than facing forward. Wow. Alright, so now we have to install this part down the bottom. It's going to be a V-band clamp onto the downpipe from the turbo. And basically, we're going to put these on from the stock exhaust and the stock mid-pipe. So we're basically going to install it the same way that they had installed in the stock system. Now of course here they're a bit looser than they were on stock. It was a pain in the ass to get them off. So now we can go up underneath the car and get it installed. Here we go. So if you've already installed your turbo in its final locations, you've torqued everything down, and you don't want to move it, but you forgot to take out your washer fluid reservoir, you're going to drain it. Basically you're going to want to open the cap and pull out the feed hose for the washer spread to then cut, burn, and melt and get this out in about 10 minutes. Definitely not recommended. Just take it out first and save yourself the hassle. It's not like you're going to get much for it online anyway. Whatever. What the hell? We're going to drill our holes for our intercooler. They have a very nice, simple mounting system. It only takes 2 bolts, which is really cool. Definitely a lot better than a lot of the other intercoolers that I've had to deal with. So what we're going to want to do, we're going to measure in 10 3/4 inches. Mark a vertical line. I've done it on both sides. So you're marking 10 3/4 inches in on each side. And then it helps with the crawler, or a creeper, whatever you want to call it, is you take that line and then you measure back to the bottom and back of the bumper, and you're going to measure 1/2 inch, so 0.5 inches in. And you do the same thing on the other side. And then once again, you're measuring in 1/2 inch. And then once again, just double check your measurements. Now I'm going to take a punch and hammer a little notch so it makes it easier for the bit and easier to see. Alright. Now you gotta drill away. Intercooler time. We got our bolts in, we drilled our holes up, we reached in through here, and we fed the bolts down. Now we're going to put our washers on, line up our intercooler, and now we got to do the same on the other side. We're looking at our very beautiful turbo. Now we're going to use the largest reducer that came with the kit. Going to fit on pretty easily over this. Now I'm going to put the worm clamp on this side, because on this side there's a nipple for the on the compressor housing. Fitting our pipe, connect right here. So we're just going to cut this piece here back, so we get a little bit better access, and we're going to cut this corner down too. If you have a throttle body spacer, it's going to shorten this distance, and your pipe is going to end up hitting this part of the rail here. So in order to make that not be an issue, you have to actually inlet the pipe so that it sticks in a lot closer than it should. But also at the same time, make sure that you're not in the way of the butterfly valve on the throttle body. We put on our silicone coupler here. Looks like we've got about 1/2 inch that is off. We might be able to get a little extra length out of our coupler. So instead of putting our coupler, you know, to where the aluminum pipe goes all the way to the middle of the coupler, we'll have it back a little bit so that we can just fit the hose clamp on and around the barb on the end there. All right. we got this clip off. And we're gonna just check our fitment so we can see that this is the right size line for this hose. So the reason we have a slightly different hose in the stock one. The stock hose came straight and it wasn't mounted over here. It was a little bit different, but since I have this engine damper, I switched the hose around so that it would loop upwards like that. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually gonna cut this in the middle and splice in the T. And what that's gonna allow me to do is run my vacuum line over here to the side by the battery, and I'm gonna have my vacuum box. So instead of running a bunch of T's everywhere, just gonna use this vacuum box from turbokits.com. Dude, all you gotta do is call me up. This is where we're going to mount our vacuum block. So basically we can tap into this for anything that we need. We're just going to cap the end point here with an end piece from Home Depot. Now our vacuum box is all hooked up. I didn't hook up to the brake booster simply because if you have a leak, a vacuum leak off the brake booster line, you're going to end up losing your power braking. Definitely something to keep in mind. Alright, so as you can see, we have our blow-off valve down here. So the way that we have it run, from the blow-off valve, it goes down there. It's a bit hard to see, but it goes behind the intake, and then also follows the power steering lines going behind the charge pipe here, going up and into the vacuum block. This, I'll eventually switch to a different hose, one that's more heat resistant, but this is just to really get it driving and start troubleshooting and everything. I also have just vented this to air right now. I should have it to a catch can, but for right now, I don't have a catch can handy, so this is how I have it set up. So now we need to install a clean filter and put some oil in it. Tighten up all of our connections, reconnect our intercooler piping, and we should be good to go. What I've done now, what you have to do is you want to take out the injector fuse as well as the coil pack fuse, so that way you don't have any spark and you don't have any injection of fuel going into your engine. And then we've also gone ahead and plugged in our battery again. So now we need to prime the turbo line. So what we're going to do is we need to unscrew. I mean, I just put it on there lightly so I can have it in place and kind of out of the way, but just have this up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to have that going into a cup, since I'm kind of alone over here right now. Going to have a little catch to this. We want to drain out about 1/4 quart of oil just to make sure that the line is primed and that all the oil goes right up in. Then we're going to hook it back up. Then we're going to crank it a little bit more so we can get some fluid inside the turbo and make sure that it's lubricated well for when we actually start it, which will be pretty much right after that. Alright, I believe it's 13 millimeter. Yeah. Alright, so just snug it down. Don't go ape shit on it. Check your line routing. Make sure you're not going to hit anything so I ain't caught any belts. So now that it's hooked up, you're going to want to crank it over again to get more oil. We've primed the line, now we want to get that oil inside the turbo. So you're going to crank it 3 times for 10 seconds each time.